Thank you very much. Okay, now it's time for our panel discussion. The theme this year is Global Today and Tomorrow. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Dr. Wayne Lord, who is President of the World Affairs Council of Atlanta. Dr. Lord joined Robinson College of Business in 2008, leading executive education programs on international business, commercial diplomacy, and corporate social responsibilities. He continues to teach the Executive MBA program while leading the World Affairs Council of Atlanta. He was formerly Vice President at Goldkist, responsible for the company's government, community, media, and investor relations, while serving as Executive Director of the Goldkist Foundation. He has extensive experience in international business and wide connection in Georgia's corporate, educational, legislative, and NGO communities. He holds a PhD and MA from Georgetown University and a BA from Birmingham Southern College, my hometown. Please welcome Dr. Wayne Lord.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate being here tonight. I'd like now if our panelists would come up, we'd go ahead and get settled. We've got folks here, and I'll go through the introduction. While they're coming up, I'd like to say, first of all, that I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this gathering. It's an incredibly important subject for us as we, right, thanks. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here. The energy subject that we just heard about is also one of those global subjects. We're sitting here in the middle of this vibrant community that is in many respects newly formed, but also has great, strong historic roots and is a part of the growth of the state and this region and this metropolitan area. I've been privileged to be part of a lot of that. I've lived in Sandy Springs for 23 years, and since 2004 in Representative Jacobs' district, near about 2 minutes from this building, and working across the 285 at Goldkist as government affairs officer, and also involved in international business with that company for a long time. So it's in many ways a great privilege to be home and representing this particular part of our metropolitan area and state. We're going to have a conversation tonight about the issues that we talked about, no matter what you do or how we think about the subjects that we gather here to talk about tonight, and how we analyze the current economic situation in our country. One thing is absolutely clear, I think, to us all. We know our nation must increase its international trade in terms of export and in attracting investment here in this region. It is a two-way street, and we are building that. We have people in this audience who have spent a lot of their lives and their professional lives helping to build those opportunities. What this distinguished panel will do is to take stock of our challenges and our assets. What resources and assets do we have to apply to the challenges that face us, particularly in this region? We can certainly talk about the state. We represent the state, the metropolitan area, but you heard earlier the kinds of assets that we have. And how can we address the complexity and the rapid pace and the scope of the issues facing us in the global marketplace? This is what we must address. We need to think about how in this region right here, in this perimeter area, can we enhance and expand the international activity that we have, and how can we do that as modeled here on this panel in a collaborative way. So many of us have also spent a lot of our professional lives in figuring out ways in which business and government and NGOs and the academic community can work together to put together the set of resources and strategies that will make us successful. And I'm very proud to be part of this panel tonight to talk about this. And we should also, in this night, and we will, recognize those these issues in creative and successful ways. We celebrate that success, we model it, and we talk about how can we apply that more widely. Tonight on the panel, we are very privileged. I want you to see the full description, but I'll introduce the panel, ask them to say some introductory remarks, and hopefully we can have some conversations that will be meaningful. First is Representative Ed Lindsay. We're really glad you're here, a Republican member of the Georgia House of Representatives, first elected in 2004 to the House, and represents Buckhead and Sandy Springs communities in Fulton County. In the State House, he serves as Majority Whip, the fourth-ranking leadership position in the House. He serves on committees Appropriations and Industrial Relations, Education, Ethics, and Judiciary, Rules, but also as an ex officio member of all the other standing committees in the House. It is a great privilege to have one of our state leaders in the House of Representatives here tonight. Thank you. Now, I'll go ahead and introduce everyone. Mike Jacobs, who is an attorney, is a Republican member of the Georgia House of Representatives, representing District 80, the district we're in here. He's also my representative, since I live near here, and glad to have you here, representatives. Is great. His district makes up portions in northern DeKalb County. He's chairman of the Martyr Oversight Committee, vice chair of the House Judiciary Committee, and member of the Transportation Committee. And he'll focus on a lot of issues in the legislature, as Majority Whip will, about what kind of resources, what are our challenges, and what do we need to address going forward. The next person on our panel is Dr. Tamara Chavez-Gill. I can even try to say it right. Tamara is one of my valued and esteemed colleagues at Georgia State. He is a distinguished and internationally renowned scholar and expert on international trade, especially focused on emerging and growth markets around the world. It's so critical for us to posture and position correctly, even from this region in this room tonight, in the global marketplace. He serves as Executive Director for the Center for International Business and Education and Research, the CYBER, we call it, at Robinson College of Business. And he and I are involved in a number of joint research and programmatic efforts all over the city and beyond. So it's a great privilege to have him with us, and he'll talk about a number of subjects where the university can come to the table and offer things. And finally, Ted Worley. We're especially privileged to have him Senior Vice President and CMO of Newell Rubbermaid. Ted Worley joined the company in 2007 and is leading the company's transformational change in consumer understanding, marketing, and brand building. And we want to celebrate also tonight the orientation of that company and how a great American company can also begin to expand into the international market. This introduction, and then I'll ask them to make comments. I have to say one other thing. There's a great privilege to be in the room always, as I have for more than 30 years with Mayor Eagle Galambos, and it's a personal note, a perfect personal privilege, but I want to say I admire you greatly, and we appreciate the great leadership you've brought to this area for decades. Thank you. So, Majority Whip, we'd love to hear from you about what your thoughts are on the subjects of the whole conversation tonight.
Waiting to begin with to step on my opening line, because it's been my great honor since 2005 to serve in the Sandy Springs delegation with an outstanding team down at the Capitol, and it's very easy to represent a great city when they've got a great leader in Eagle Galambos. And I do appreciate the years in which we've been able to work together. We do have a strong team. I will say this, one thing that's important down at the Capitol in terms of having a strong presence to help the local community in terms of their economic development is to have a strong, cohesive team. I belong to two teams down at the Capitol. I belong to the Sandy Springs team and to the Atlanta delegation as well. Needless to say, it's a little bit easier in my Sandy Springs delegation. We've got Joe Wilkinson over here. We've got Harry Geisinger over here. I think Wendell had to step out a little while ago, but we've been a good team in the House. We've been joined by Judson Hill over in the Senate, and recently we've been joined also by Don Alves, which has been a strong team for Sandy Springs over the last few years. And first bringing the city into existence, and then helping to do whatever the city needs in order to move forward with economic development. Deb Goldman did a good job sort of outlining some of the things that need to be done in terms of laying the fertile ground for strong economic development in an area. And our job, I believe, down at the state capitol is to help create that fertile soil in terms of some of the things that Deb touched on. Obviously, we need an area that people want to come and move to, both in terms of business and also attracting the necessary employees to get high-quality employees. That requires both strong housing and also strong education needs. We also need to have the right kind of infrastructure in terms of transportation and one of the critical needs that we've been working on for several years in terms of water. We also need to have, quite frankly, the right kind of business environment in general, both in terms of our tax structure and in terms of various incentives that we need in order to bring the necessary folks into our community. Now let me sort of touch on a little bit some of the things that I think you're going to be seeing in the next legislative session that we need to be focusing on. First and foremost is education, both from the standpoint of creating an educated workforce that will attract the business because they know that they'll be able to get the workforce they need, and also be able to get the workforce to come live in our area because we have a strong education system. And we have a lot that we need to be doing along those lines. We've made progress over the last 8 to 10 years, but we've got a long way to go, both in this area and in the state as a whole. We need to focus on a lot of different things. The status quo, quite frankly, is not acceptable, given some of the graduation rates that exist around the state of Georgia. We need to improve our charter schools. We've had a setback in the Georgia Supreme Court in terms of our ability to create them through a statewide charter system. I think we're going to be coming back this coming year in order to get that put back into place, because I think charter schools are a great laboratory for educational experimenting in terms of coming up with the best possible ways. We also need to come up with a way to properly assess teachers in terms of making sure that our high-quality teachers are recognized, and make sure that those teachers that fall short of our students' needs either get the necessary training they need to come up to par, or quite frankly find another profession. And one of the things that we're going to be focusing on in the next session is coming up with just that right balance in terms of teacher quality. We also need to start recognizing the fact that not every kid is going to go to college, but every kid needs to be trained to be able to compete in the 21st century for high-quality jobs. And we need to work on a program called a Bridge program, which will enhance our technical schools in this state. These are not your daddy's woodshop. These are high-tech type of training that can take place in the high schools. It's been done on an experimental basis around the state. We need to institute it statewide. These are some of the things that we need to be doing in terms of education. In terms of water, that's a critical concern for us for several years. Fortunately, we got a good decision out of the 11th Circuit recently. I didn't mention my good friend over here who left the House a little while ago and is now joining the Senate. And he is the author of the technical school initiative, and we need to be working on that. And Fran, it's good to see you here today. Fran Miller is in the Senate. He and I, he chaired the study committee dealing with the technical school program need in the state several years ago. And hopefully in the coming session we can finally pass that important initiative. Getting back to water, we were able to have a good outcome in the 11th Circuit in terms of finally recognizing common sense that Lake Lanier is indeed a water resource for metropolitan Atlanta in terms of meeting our water needs, but it's still going to fall far short of our future needs. We have plenty of water that falls from the sky every year. We have over 50 inches a year that fall from the sky, but we just don't have the capacity to capture as much as that we need. And we're going to be needing to come up with new reservoirs to be able to